game, beat him, join him. Sivak popping off over on the Night Elf sub-rogue. Getting opener versus Ben. That's going to be immediate roar by the druid. Immediately trying to go for the biggest bleeds possible. Sivak is playing cheat death. So you may be playing like a cheesy bursty or anti-burst build. Going to be Sivak trying to see if he can max out the damage. Ben popping a full wall with a trick, and that's all defensive use. Maybe not Barkskin. Maybe saving that for later. But they're trying to go for the big blades versus Sivak. Sivak is just trying to see if he can give himself to our ability. I think you'll sippy cup on all those dots early on versus Ben. Blind to reset versus the Feral Druid is going to be able to go for a sap. Did use Shadow Blades. Could potentially still get the Shadow Blades procs, especially if he's playing that tier set. This could be a ton of damage. With a full burst, Ben trying to see if he can Barkskin through the resonator. Looks like it's enough. That's going to be a big emergency healing for Ben. As Sivak can just try to see if he can just swipe him out with those back-to-back eviscerates. Evasion for Sivak does go for a roar, but doesn't get destroyed long enough. Ben just trying to see if he can survive this damage as best as possible. Still evasion rolling for Sivak. Does get himself Shadow Blades proc. Cloak of Shadows with a vanish. Could potentially interrupt the flesh cut. Looks like he's not going to go for the interrupt just yet. Just got to let the Feral get himself a little bit of recovery. Ben diving back into stealth. While in count from looks, he was able to survive a lot of the onslaught from Sivak. Sivak tried to see if he could Phantomize randomly. Maybe he could Phantomize a couple times and dive back into stealth. For rogues, being able to Phantomize the dive into stealth, it is very quick and very efficient. Almost getting the Ben out in the open. Does Ben go for the opener? It's like, even if you try going into versus Sivak, if you try to waddle towards him, you may not be able to get a proper opener. Try to see if he can leave. Does get the opener. He's going to just go for a bit of a... Looks like going to back up. I think just trying to get some dots and see if it's going to be a shadow meld. Let's see if it does get the shield in order to offset a portion of the damage into the shell. Ben trying to see if he can push over. Sivak is going to get yet another rake opener trick, and for Sivak is going to go for a bit of damage. Ben with a basketball and bear from a Sivak trying to see if he can blast through the flashcraft shielding. Unable to blast through the whole thing, even though through full stuns. And Ben finally seeing his health bar show up. Big button to Sivak. Does Sivak have anything to work with here? Faint for a second, but I think Dots may have him. Cheat death, but looks like the Dots do tip him over. Sensei gonna be up next versus Ben with a full BDB. Trick is still available for Ben. Gonna be a quick roar. Sensei still has a lot of damage potential. Could join in as a win into this one, as it still has, full cooldowns available. Main onto Sensei. Does have a human racial for it. Does Ben go for a reset? Fist of Fury to slow him down. Not going for the Lex Cube just yet. Ben is just playing it very defensive. Trying to go for Cyclone. Quick interrupt. Does Ben have himself a flesh cut back up? Because he just got interrupted on nature. This would be a perfect time to flesh cup while in bear form, while thorns are up, just to avoid pressure to Sensei. Sensei rotating the Aegis Streak by the looks of it, or maybe just the Ford Brew. But he did have a shield. Maybe just Ford Brew. Maybe he's saving Aegis for a little bit later. But Ben could potentially be in a bit of a pressure. Fist of Fury flying in. Ben doesn't really have a way out unless he goes for a roar. Maim, stunner Sensei. Wait, Sensei have the trigger. When does Ben actually take him down to single go? Karma to reverse a lot of the damage. And Ben is going to back up out of there. I thought Ben may have had no options, but it looks like he was just waiting to get that stunner to Sensei as soon as Fist of Fury was down. And then unleash a full burst. Sensei tried to see if he could reverse it with Karma. The blades are still rolling in. There's going to be the Aegis Stricken to avoid some of the magic damage from Ben. And Ben looking to back up out of there. Sensei seeing the Feral backing up. He has two choices. Either pop or heal himself and take the defensive play. Oh, flash captain to stop the stun. Ben does go for the skull bash, denying Sensei some of that healing. Lexi better Ben. Sensei does go for the jab. Fist of Fury flying in. Thorns is up. Does Ben have any more defenses? Was going to use it. Is that going to be enough though? Ben Sensei just absolutely punching a hole through him. That's going to be maybe Sensei rolling over the edge of that tombstone just a little bit too far. But that's going to be Sensei actually getting reverse dots on him. Ben is super aggressive, super proactive, full maim on the Sensei, and I think Sensei might be done for the count, letting the dots do work, and Ben is just looking to back up out of the letting the dots carry him over, with Chicago charging out, no dampening just yet. This is just Ben putting in the bleeds and just letting him rot on these boys. As he's looking for a reset for himself behind the pillar, Chicago is going to be out there. That is my favorite dance in the game, dude. My favorite dance in the game. Yeah. I love it. Out of all the dance, I think the only other one I like is maybe the big werebear dance. Will look like a little knuckle bump in front of him and the back and do a little bit of like a little bit of a shimmy. This is still my favorite, dude. Chicago showing off on the team as Ben sinking his claws into that raptor scales. Hide? Do raptors have scales or hide? Gonna be mad damage to Chicago. Chain Harvest in order to try to see if he can reverse it. Ben is just being relentless here, though. Chicago does narrowly recover. The Generational does come into play. Mad Alien Blaster to Ben. Does maybe potentially have a Barskin? Doesn't even have any defenses. He definitely went full feral on Chicago. And looks like he's going to be able to use the power shift in order to break away from any slows. Try to see if he can go for a reset versus the Shaman. Chicago trying to see if he can ramp up some damage of his own. Sunder to a stun. Big Yellow Blast. That is a Barskin for Ben. Does gain emergency healing out of this one. And Chicago trying to see if they may be able to find a way past the Bear Druid. Fleshcraft does get interrupted on nature, though Fleshcraft does give him some defensive value. 20% DR, as well as immune to CC, and a pretty decent recovery. Big burst of the Chicago with a Berserk. Does have a trick on the wall. Immediately walls the damage off, trying to deny a lot of the pressure. Earth Elemental does come into play. The Ellie is also going to have bleeds on him. So maybe that Ellie died earlier than expected. But at least for Chicago, it does give him a little bit extra health to work with. A little bit extra of a health pool to play with. So it should make him feel a little bit safer versus the onslaught of the Feral Druid. Chicago is kind of low on mana. He can definitely go very, very aggressive on offensive abilities that cost Maelstrom. But defensively, he is going to have to spend a lot of mana just to keep himself alive. Maim on Chicago. Ben trying to see if he can claw through the Shaman. Big Chain Harvest Chicago to hopefully stabilize the dampening finally rolling in. And Ben is just continuing to keep the onslaught rolling. If they can keep the pressure, keeping Chicago's mana low, then Chicago's health eventually goes low. Chicago is limited on what they could really do. Even dropping down a healing totem to empower the future healing takes a little bit of mana, which Chicago doesn't really have much off to work with. Full maim, Chicago needs a big fatty heal right now. Does get himself a little bit of health as the dip low. Big Ellie Blaster on top of it to see if he can reverse damage onto Ben. Does leave him with a flame shock as Chicago is fine. Let himself get a little bit of a mana regen behind the pillar. And Ben charging back out. Chicago's still under a ton of pressure. The Ghost Raptors can help. Capacitor Totem doesn't quite hit him. Thunder does disrupt him for a second. Cannot really do much with the Essence Feral. Chicago does get himself a short heal for a second. There's going to be yet another heal right here. Give it the Flame Shock to Ben. Try to deny him any kind of proper resets, and Ben does have plenty of mana of his own to go for regrowth. He's in definitely a better situation than Chicago. Chicago has a trinket available in 30 seconds. Wall is back up. The Feral trying to see if he might be able to get himself a reset. Chicago jumped up to one of the candles. I didn't even know he could really go up in the ramp there. I never really seen anybody really go on a ramp on those candles before. That was interesting. It was weird. Because I thought it was just an invisible wall there. Maim of Chicago. Do they survive this burst? Back-to-back bites by the Pharaoh's not going to be enough. Chain Harvest to help him recover. Is going to go behind the pillar into that slot. I think try to maybe sit down and get as much mana as they can. I think that's exactly what they're going to do, is maybe sit down and mana up. Definitely going to heal. And using that little gap in between there just to give himself a little bit of recovery. Make it difficult for Ben to get an opener unless they go straight into the room. That's Chicago knows that the Feral isn't quite there yet. Stun. Ben has all the cooldowns available. He actually has himself a full go with Berserk. Chicago does have some lower cooldowns going back up at 70% dampening. Being behind the Feral Druid is non-optimal though. Maim of Chicago is just gonna have to take a little bit of damage. Ben not forcing out defenses just yet. Or offensives rather. He's just waiting to build up for even more pressure, a little bit more bleed, a little bit more calm points. Big Ellie Blast to Chicago tries to go for a capacitor totem down, but doesn't quite connect. Dude, so far this back and forth between Ben and Chicago just keeps, I feel like, going on for such a long while. 10 minutes into the game, 30% dampening. Chicago is recovering a lot of mana. Actually, they can't, are they out of combat? No, I don't think they can get out of combat with the Earth Elemental harassing the Feral. But for the Feral, that is cooldown reduction. I wonder why Chicago isn't chasing after the Feral. I feel like eventually they could tip the Feral's health over. But they are maybe prolonging the game to go into higher dampening. Maybe that's what they're trying to do. Second 1-on-1 between healers. Honestly, dude. Enhanced with Shaman and Feral Druid. A lot of healing, but like when you put them against one another, it's literally healing versus healing. Ben taking a bit of damage as he's trying to go for Berserk versus Chicago. Chicago walled his damage off immediately. Trying to see if they kite Ben back out in the open. Sunder onto Ben. Do they have a capacitor on him? Doesn't quite land it, but Ben tried to juke it in the first place. Chicago burning through all the mana just to keep himself alive. Ben still has Berserk, so he can potentially keep the pressure rolling. He has himself a lot of that calm point and energy efficiency in order to keep the pressure with the dots rolling as well as the bites. Maim on Chicago, but that could be really bad for the Shaman. Ben tried to build some calm points, but it looks like he's just absolutely out of resources. He does have Tiger's Fury, but he's saving them for something later. It's going to be a big Ellie Blaster to Ben. Does have himself Bear Form though. I just looking to get himself a bit of a reset. Does get interrupted, but Chicago is a flash craft available. Wall out for Ben. Doesn't get super low. Just go for a bite, and Chicago got himself yet another regrowth. But it's not going to be enough. The big Ellie Blasters get him super low. Regrowth right after. Oh my goodness. And Chicago does end up sundering the cat. Oh my god. with Gazzle Stabby. I don't think he's. I can't even blame Chicago for leaving that one, dude. You spend everything just to take down the Feral, and the Rogue dropping down a full Resonator. What do? You know how it ends. You just give him like, yep, good luck. Good luck, team. I'm just gonna leave right here, save you a few seconds of dampening. Our Pirates is gonna be up next versus Gazzle Stabby. I thought it was Grizzled for a second. Gazzle Stabby. Gazzle Razzle Frazzle. I like the fist whip you got going on. I don't see a lot of mugs using it, but I like what you got going on. It kind of fits your dagger too, like the orange hue bottom. Pirates has got to be very, very careful. Definitely has to get really aggressive with Gazzle. Definitely needs to go for that CC chain Gao just armed with the stun. And needs to make sure he had feint to basically 24/7 versus Gazzle. Evasion is super good, but also you should be expecting a Kindred shot out of Gazzle. So you want to be able to get past their Kindred shots. But that'll help you. And Pirates picking up the eye, but that's going to be opener. But Gazzle trying to go for the full Curing Burst. Does get the disarm in between those stuns. That is so good. Disarm to Pirates. He does have calm points though. Blind. Maybe he has a human ratio for later. If he has a human ratio, he could blind Gazzle. But that's going to be Sap. He should be DR'd. He should be DR'd. Unless Gazzle is going to go for a full resap. If he goes for a full resap on him, triple sap, I think still DR'd. Trinket immediately blind. Gazzle Trinket out of it. Pirates does give himself a bit of healing. Does he have defenses? Gouges Gazzle does get CC. Get a shot. That's going to be a full burst. Does it turn around onto the sub rogue? Potentially try to make it play here. Does get himself back-to-back finishers. Going to be vanish for a second. Gazzle does vanish as well. Does get himself a sip pick up. That's going to be a grapple. Oh, does get him out with a blade. Rush. Get a shot onto Pirates. I think he's loses it by a hair. Does get himself evasion last second. Cloak shots for Gazzle. I don't know if the cloak shot is going to help you. Try to see if you can get those visitors back into Pirates, but does get behind him. I think the evasion maybe ran out at the last second and does get the Servicerates at the end. Gazzle getting hit with a full dots and there's nothing you can do about it. As he got a sip pick up and he knows it's over. Scoopy trying to see if he may be able to play up against who? Jermex. We got Bursty in the back as well. Was it really just one Feral playing for a good while and the Rogue? I think it was just one Feral playing for a good while, wasn't it? Damn. Oh my god. Scoopy, the final one on Team 2. Can he somehow live this? He didn't commit anything into last Rogue, so he's going fresh into Jermex. How do you beat the Rogue though? Get this shot, Kyrian Burst, Shadow Blades. I think you immediately burst him to get yourself a heal rolling. He does play the self-heal legendary, which I'm not a big fan of for Feral Druids to play a self-heal legendary. I understand why they do it, but I'm not a big fan of it. Is it just me? I just don't like it. I'm not a fan. Jermex is going to go for that evasion. Trying to see if he can reduce some of the damage to Scoopy. Waiting until the next Kidney shot. Scoopy needs to go for Big Convoke. There's going to be a minute chicken for Jermex. Trying to go for a Kidney shot for Scoopy. Does have a chicken in case he needs to, but he's not using it just yet. It looks like he's playing survivable. Does give him some friends in region. It's going to be another cheap shot. Jermex trying to see if he might be able to get a crit, but he doesn't quite get it. Going to be a cyclone attempt. Well, actually, he's going to cancel it for the last second. He's going to use the soul shape in order to back up out of the Scoopy. Not playing that Night Fae at least. I mean, not playing the Necrolord, which at least I gotta give him some credit. Necrolord Feral is much tankier than a Night Fae Feral. Blind. Scoopy is definitely gonna have to pop a trinket for this next one with a wall or something. Definitely gonna have to use something. Jeremy still has plenty of defensives. Cheap shot. Scoopy does trinket Wallace immediately. That's gonna be Friends of Region on top of it. So you'd used all the defenses in order to survive this, but the Eviscerates still fly, even through a wall. Damn. That's huge. A ban with 2, but Chicago does end up locking him down after a back and forth between those two healers. And this is why I'm not a big fan of like healer Legos, man.